Hey, good morning, sir. This is Major Barrett from 7th ID. Everyone else on the line, good morning and welcome to 7th ID's professional development program. Here at 7th ID, we host a professional development session about once a month, and then quarterly we offer a 7th ID S6 certification course to all the sitting and projected S6s across JBLM. And so today, we're super excited to have Brigadier General Eubank join us for a professional development session today. He's currently the Commanding General for 7th SIG Command and has recently been announced that he's the next Commanding General for Network Enterprise Technology Command. Sir, on the line today, we have all the students from this quarter's 7th ID Battalion S6 certification course, and we're also joined, and the population is rapidly growing here as we approach 915. Signal leaders from across JBLM and then really across the DoD. And with that, sir, we'll hand it over to you for initial remarks, and then we can get into the Q&A after that. Sir, you're next.
All right, Kyle, thanks. Hey, so I wish I could say I'm here prepared to impart a lot of wisdom on the graduates. But I'll talk to them real quick, and then we'll really just open it up and hopefully have a good discussion. You know, some questions. Hopefully, I can provide some good answers. Take it wherever you guys want to take it. And if I can't answer it, I'll tell you I can't answer it. But I'll get back to you, and we'll go from there. So first and foremost, to the folks that have been through the S6 course, who are currently serving or getting ready to serve as a 6. Here's what I would tell you. It's the same thing I told everybody when I was a Commandant Chief of Signal, and that is I'm convinced this is what you've got to do to be a successful 6. You've got to be a good leader, teammate, and then communicator, right? And so first and foremost, my expectation is, and most of your warfighter expectations is, hey, you got to lead, right? You got to take care of people. And if you're, I use the 82nd because that's my old home, but if you're a paratrooper, you got a paratroop, right? You got to be able to jump, move, shoot, communicate, lead from the front. And so the first and foremost, lead, take care of people first. Second, be a good teammate. And what do I mean by that? So it's not that I don't want you to be the end all be all expert on routers and switches and putting in routing tables and all that. But what I really need you to be is sitting inside the S3's op order meeting. So as they're writing the order, you're a participant and you're not trying to fight a plan you had no say in. And so that's being a good teammate, right? That's being a part of that staff team. Teammate left and right. So being a good teammate across the brigade with other 6s, up and down, being a good teammate. And then lastly is being a great communicator. And you become a great communicator by continuing to learn, by trusting your NCOs and your warrant officers, because they're the ones that are going to make you a good communicator. And so that's what I would tell you up front, right? So be a good leader, teammate, communicator. And then, you know, the other thing I would tell you is know your audience, right? And so when you're inside that BCT, that battalion, you have to speak maneuver, right? You can't speak EIGRP and all this, you know, signal talk. You've got to speak maneuver. What's it mean to that commander? What's it mean to their plan? What's it mean to mission command? And I think if you're a good leader, teammate, communicator, and you speak maneuver, and you're passionate about what you do, being a 6 in the Army is the best job in the Army. There's going to be some days where being a 6 is not fun, right? Things don't work. The boss can't talk. And all you have to do is come to work solving problems every day. And it doesn't ever stop, just so you know. As a 7th SIG command commander, I come to work and rely on a lot of people to solve problems every day, right? And so all I do is provide left and right directions and guidance, and we solve problems every day. There are outages across the network every day, and we come to work we put our helmets on, buckle up our chin straps, and fire off the ball and solve problems every day. So, leader, teammate, communicator, passionate about what you do, speak, maneuver, and then, you know, real quick, you know, the 7th ID teams shot me some kind of notes. How do you fail as a SIGO? Not reacting, right? I would tell you, if there's a problem, you have to react. You have to work the problem. You have to solve the problem. What you can't do is hunker down and not react to the boss's challenges, concerns, what they want you to do. I would tell you most of your battalion, brigade, division, corps commanders today get IT, right? They understand it's a, you know, the cyberspace domain is a man-made domain. It breaks, it changes. We change it constantly. So they get that. What they want to know is that you're on top of the challenges every day. You're solving the challenges every day. And staying focused every day. So, and it's really, you know, it goes back to being a good teammate, right? Making sure you're talking left and right, you're interfacing with company commanders, you're talking to, you know, the staff. So, and I think, you know, that was pretty down and dirty, pretty fast and furious, but I would tell you, I've been in the Army a long time. You know, in May it'll be 30 years, and I've spent last count, I think 24 of that as a 6. Notice what I just said, right? I think 6 of it's been as a commander. You know, it's probably a little bit less than that as a 6. Because I probably somewhere in there I went to CGSC and the War College, right? So, but a majority of the time as a signal officer is going to be spent as a 6, as a staff officer, and so hone that craft, hone that trade, be a good teammate, and it's the best job in the Army. You can do it wherever you want: artillery, aviation, infantry, armor, SOF, and so I'm absolutely convinced being a 6. Battalion BCT 6, best job in the Army. So enjoy what you do, be passionate about what you do, take care of your soldiers, your people, if you have civilians, and I think everybody who just graduated would be fine. And I will pause there. Did I hit the mark there, Kyle? Am I good? Am I in my Rage fans?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for that. So with that, for all the folks that have joined that may not have seen the flyer at the very beginning, we encourage everyone here to provide your questions there in the chat window within Microsoft Teams here. And then as we screen through those questions, we'll bring those to General Eubank. So, sir, to start things off, we have a question from First Lieutenant Bass within 7th ID. He's a branch detailed officer where he did his detail as an infantryman. And his question for you is, what challenges did you face when transitioning to be a battalion S6, and how did you overcome them?
So I would tell you, I think I tell everybody who's a branch detail officer, you guys are actually in a really good place, right? Because I think as a regiment, what we don't teach you, teach as much of, you learn as a combat arms individual, right? So you understand maneuver. So you already know that. You're coming into that one step ahead of your peers who are straight signal folks who haven't spent time in the infantry, armor, or whatever already. You've mentally you've got to shift from being, I'll use a joint term, being supported to being the supporting individual, right? So as the infantry platoon leader, company XO, you were the supported entity, right? You were turning to that 6 and that 6 shop and looking for support each day. You're now on the other side of that. So remember what it was like when you're an infantry person and that 6 was doing everything they could to support. You're going to be the one being asked to provide that support now, but just put your maneuver hat back on. Remember taking care of people, being a leader, being a teammate, and I think you'll be fine. I don't honestly stand here and say you'll be challenged. Because you understand what it means to be the supported individual. So I hope that answered the question. Over.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sir, we have another question from one of the Battalion S6 certification course students, and I'm going to kind of alter his question a little bit. He's asking about how does Signal tie in with cyber as we get into multi-domain operations. And I'll add to that, sir, recently I think there's a proposal, or perhaps it's a done deal, that Signal branch is going to transition from operational support into information domination. And so if you could provide any input on that subject, sir.
Yeah, so we'll start with that second half of that, right? So, so as we look at the cyberspace domain, and so words matter to me, right? So the domain is not cyber, the domain is cyberspace. The workforce is the cyber core. So as we talk about the domain, cyberspace, what made sense to a bunch of us, and especially senior leaders, is why aren't we in the information dominance category versus in the operational support category? So inside the information dominance category was information operations, cyber, might have been one other, EW maybe, which is now cyber. And so the big discussion, no kidding, probably 6 months ago was, what's it mean to be in that category versus operational support? And I think as we move to information dominance, information advantage, inside cyberspace, you're not doing any of that without the Signal Regiment, right? So the Signal Regiment enables your information operations. It enables your cyber core. And so the method of madness there was, we're going to move into that information dominance category. And honestly, it's not the reason we did it, but an after effect is, I think it helps us when it comes to promotions. So both and it really starts at the captain to the major look, and then so forth. The one thing we wanted to make sure we did was not just move the 25 series, but move the 26s as well. So inside operational support is where all your functional areas reside. And so one of the points of discussions with HRC in moving the regiment was, hey, we want to bring the 26s with us because they're truly part of the Signal Regiment, not just a functional area. And so I think that's what's going to happen. I think you'll see the 26s as well as the 25s move into that area. So, which leads to the first part of the question, cyber, Signal, lash up in multi-echelon, so I will say two things: multi-domain operations, but I will also say multi-echelon cyberspace operations in the DODN, right? Or operations in the DODN. Two different things, but very well nested. So I will tell you the cyber core does not come to work or go to work without the Signal Regiment, right? So everything they do takes a network. They don't build that network. The Signal Regiment builds that network. We're in the process of standing up. We will activate a Signal battalion in October of this calendar year, fiscal year 22, this coming October. We will inactivate one Signal battalion, ESB, and then and activate it the following day as the offensive cyber operations Signal battalion in direct support of our cyber. So that battalion will be responsible for building out the offensive cyber operations network in support of our cyber. That's what Signal folks do, right? That's what Signal organizations do. install, operate, maintain, design networks. And so we're going to put an entire battalion against that mission set for our cyber. So cyber and signal go hand in hand, right? We enable that organization, that regiment, that core of folks to work every day. That I think is going to become even more true in the coming years as you see the cyber personnel start to flow outside of Gordon and Meade, because right now, if you're a cyber corps officer, you truly are only serving one of two places: Fort Gordon, Fort Meade, maybe up at West Point with the Army Cyber Institute. We're going to start to flow those into corps and divisions and into these formations called IQs and multi-domain task force, one of which is already stood up and built at your location at JBLM, more to come. And I think it will be imperative that the regiment stay snap linked to the cyber corps. I tell, as the commandant here, I used to tell every signal captain's career course, go find a cyber corps captain career course individual, take them to lunch. They'll buy you lunch sometime down the road when they need your help, but you should know all those folks because they're going to rely on you just like a maneuver commander relies on you. To be honest, they're just going to be maneuvering in cyberspace versus across the deserts of Iraq. So I hope I tackled that question.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So, sir, moving back into more of a career professional development question here, we have one from Major Gennard, who's one of the brigade S6s within 7th ID at 2-2 Striker BCT. His question is, are there any broadening assignments you recommend for captains and majors that are better than others to set signal careers up for success?
I don't know that I can tell you one's better than the other. Here's what I will say to you: do as I say, not as I did. So I think you got to look across the gamut. I didn't serve in TRADOC until I was a 1-star as a commandant of signal school. What I would tell you is, if you get an opportunity to serve in TRADOC, take it. One, you're giving back to the Army, because in TRADOC you're going to be responsible at some point of either writing doctrine or lesson plans or teaching, the future of the Army. So I can't praise the TRADOC piece enough. And like I said, I didn't do it until 2 years ago. But I learned a lot in TRADOC. I think what I would tell you is at some point you've got to, no kidding, consider going to the Pentagon and to the Army staff. It will make you a better leader as you grow in the Army. As you become a lieutenant colonel, a battalion commander, a colonel, a brigade commander, it will round out your foundation. And then the other thing I would tell you as a major is, as you come out of your KD time, I think you've got to be looking for a joint assignment. And so when I was growing up, that's kind of what you did. You kind of came out of your KD time, you looked for that joint assignment, a JDOW position, you got jointed, and then you didn't have to worry about it. And then we got in the height of Iraq and Afghanistan, and we kind of told people, hey, stay in the Army. We need you to stay. And now what we're seeing is we got a bunch of senior lieutenant colonels and colonels that have no joint time, and it's hard finding them joint time. And so I would tell you, as you're coming out of your major job or your KD job at the majors level, be looking for the joint assignments. There's a ton of them out there. Joint staff in the Pentagon. You've got combatant commands. You can go to a TSOC. There's a ton of joint assignments out there. But broadening wise, the thing I would tell you as well is I still think it helps to do both sides of, that kind of urban legend. There's two different signal corps, kind of division and below, and then kind of the ESB world. And I would tell you what we've seen as of late is we've done a pretty good job of cross-pollinating that, at least at the 05, battalion command level, the brigade command level. We need captains and majors looking to do that as well. So if you're and you have the opportunities right there at Lewis, if you're a BCT 6, it does not hurt to go see the ESB commander and say, hey, I'd like to interview to be a 3 or an XO, and get a little taste of that. And I'd be telling the XO or 3, although they tend to be a little bit more senior, hey, it wouldn't hurt for you to go be a BCT 6. Because I think it makes us better signal officers and leaders when we see both sides of it. But that's probably where I would leave that one. I don't see one being better than the other. I think they all bring you know, a different advantage or a different learning experience to the table. Over.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, sir. Sir, another subject that's been kind of on the top of a lot of people's mind is in relation to unified transport. So, sir, your thoughts, how do you think the Army plans to manage an enterprise network that is both secret but unclassified and or SecRel while on unified transport in the future?
My very short answer would be very carefully. So that's going to be really interesting, and honestly, you guys are at the tip of the spear right now at JBLM, between you guys working with your partners in the Pacific and what's happening in Europe. I think we're all watching that and trying, from a NetCom 7th perspective, trying to figure out how we enable you to do that, and how we do it smartly. It's going to be, MPE is going to be interesting. And so, the big discussion right now is we're kind of doing this episodically, right? And the conversation is, should that be more permanent, right? Versus calling out a circuit, establishing it, doing our thing, and then breaking it down. Should it be a more permanent thing? And if it is, what's that mean to all of us, right? Who, Brigadier General Jan Norris and I are now in discussions, because he has half the problem and I have the other half when it comes to the Pacific, right? So I own the JBLM half of this, he owns the other half, and it's okay, who's managing this? And so it's not without its challenges. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And I think, honestly, the MDTF is going to lead us there faster than anything else right now, minus USER/AF, which is pushing the envelope as well. But it's not. I should have started with, I think that's where we're headed, right? So I think the SIPRNet and the SB, secret but the secure but unclassified, those networks are going to be where we're leaning. NIPR will be there, but I think those two networks are going to be a focus of ours moving forward, and hence why we're all trying to figure out what it truly looks like in the future. Over.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I know that's a tough subject, and I appreciate your input on that. Sir, next question is from First Lieutenant Heisey, first name Austin. He's the Battalion S6 for 217 Field Artillery Battalion and 22 Stryker BCT. His question is, or his statement is, in my 14 months in position, my number one issue is balancing the development/training of my soldiers and supporting the numerous battalion priorities. Do you have any TTPs that work well during your time as an S6 to balance?
Yeah, so that's why we pay you the big bucks, Austin. Yeah, so there's no easy answer to that. There really isn't. First and foremost, the number one thing is you got to meet your commander's priorities, right? And so and that can be one, it could be 100, right? And so every day is about how you're meeting those priorities. I think, back to my leader, teammate, communicator kind of mantra. If you're a good leader and you're taking care of people, you're a teammate. I think the better teammate you are, the better you understand priorities inside of a battalion, and the better you're able to present a plan that allows you to balance meeting those priorities and educating / training your workforce. Look, there's nothing easy about what I just said, but it's really, as you sit in more meetings as a good teammate, I think you're able to, no kidding, jot things down, go back to the 3, and I say this, you go back to the 3 and say, hey, sir or ma'am, this is what I'm seeing. Here's where I'm focusing my energy because I need to do X, Y, Z to keep the workforce current, up to date. And then from there, you get the 3 to hack off on that. You can take it to the battalion XO and the battalion commander and say, hey, here's how I'm getting after your priorities and continuing to keep the workforce trained and ready. But it starts with being a good teammate and sitting inside sessions that, honestly, you may look at and go, yeah, I'm not sure I need to be here. I would tell you, in the long run, sitting in a training meeting at battalion, sitting in planning meetings will help you identify where there's space to do training and education for the workforce. But that your number one priority as a 6 is both. Unfortunately, it's meeting the battalion commander's priorities as well as taking care of your workforce, and you've got to figure out how to stack those overlays every day. I hope that helps, Austin.
Roger, sir. It helped. Thank you very much.
Sir, next topic, it was kind of brought up throughout the week as we go through the Battalion S6 certification course. We do have battalion commanders and other senior leaders sit in as guest speakers, and a routine question that comes up is, what is it that you consume on a daily basis in the form of information, whether it be a periodical, a Facebook feed, a book that you're reading, a channel that you listen to for a podcast, or whatever, that keeps you abreast of all the information that you would want to become a more informed leader?
So I would first start with this. There's a book out there by Admiral retired Stavridis. He was the former SACER, and I'll misstate it, and I'll make sure my aide gets you a copy of kind of this reading list I keep voting upon, so you can see what's out there. But it's called the Leaders Library or Leaders Bookshelf. And what's interesting about what Admiral Stavridis writes is he canvassed a bunch of senior leaders, GOs, flag officers, retired, a lot of them retired, about if they could pick out one book to recommend reference leadership, what would it be? And then each senior leader that he tagged, they wrote a little synopsis of the book and what it meant to them leadership wise. And then Admiral Stavridis and his co-author kind of expanded upon that. So there's about 50 of those in the middle of the book. But interestingly enough, in the front of the book, Admiral Stavridis talked about how he consumed information. And so what I tell you is I kind of do the same thing. So now I'll tell you. So I subscribe to a lot of feeds. So, whether it's foreign policy or whatever it might be, I kind of get their shot of the day, if that makes sense. And so, current events, world events. I get a Wired, the Wired magazine feed, CNET, and those are really from a technical perspective. Hey, what's coming down the pipe? But it's little chunks, right? I don't grab a newspaper and full on read a newspaper every day. I'm taking chunks from the Washington Post, the New York Times, Foreign Policy, The Economist, kind of each day I get a chunk. And then I wrap some IT in there, Wired, CNET, and that type of stuff. Fortunately or unfortunately, I spend a lot of my days going through work stuff, right? So SIPRNet, NIPRNet, JWIX, and then from a reading perspective, I read mostly leadership, organizational type books, but I do mix fiction in because Stavridis and General Mattis, Secretary Mattis would tell you that for every 4 or 5 nonfiction organizational type books you read, you should read a fiction book because it keeps the mind fresh. And so what am I reading right now? I am reading about 5 different things. I just finished Battlegrounds by H.R. McMaster. I'm in the middle of, oh my God, what's the name of that book? Oh man, I just brain dumped it. It's a book that that all of us senior leaders were asked to read by the Chief of Staff of the Army, and I'll get it to my aide and get it out to you guys. I can see the cover of it, and I don't remember. It's about how being a generalist is actually better than being a specialist, and I can't remember the name of the book right now. It'll come to me though. But I'm in the middle of that. I've got probably 2 more open, to be honest. If I was going to recommend anything right now to you guys, read 2 things by P.W. Singer, I think is his name. The first one was Ghost Fleet. It's fiction. The second one he wrote was called Like War, which is not fiction. It's about the weaponization of social media. It just will help you kind of get your head around the cyberspace domain. Those are just, and they're 2 easy reads. I always recommend The Starfish and the Spider and The Speed of Trust, 2 more great books that I think will serve you well. And like I said, I've got a list, and I'll make sure my aide Anthony Clayton gets it out to you guys. But you never stop learning, right? And what I tell folks is, there was this point where I was like, dude, I'm not reading anything unless it's an op order, right? I just, and so as a major, major lieutenant colonel, I really started reading again. What I would tell you is don't ever stop reading, right? Keep something on the nightstand, read 10, 15 pages a night, carry it with you when you travel. I don't know, get an Audible account. Most of you folks probably already have Audible accounts. I got one, 40 days ago. So that's how old I am. You guys, you digital natives are all over that stuff, and put it in your ears while you're, running on the treadmill, running outside, whatever you're doing. And so, it'll just, but never stop learning. And I think what you've got to do is mix the both, right? Leadership, organizational type, effectiveness type stuff, but you got to stay up to date on the technical stuff too, right? Because your boss is expecting you to know what a Raspberry Pi is, and it's not the thing you're consuming after your steak dinner, right? And so they expect you to know that type of stuff. So I hope that helps.
Sir, thanks a lot for that. That I definitely jotted down a few books and authors, and we'll get with Captain Clayton after this and send that out to the group. Just a quick pause here. So for those of you that may not be able to have the chat function from the platform you're talking on, just go ahead and raise your hand, and we can field some questions from the group that way as well. Sir, next question is actually from Second Lieutenant Noah Singer from 35th Signal Brigade. His question has to do with the battalion and brigade S6 or the S6s and G6s of the Army being the balance point or the center of gravity for the Signal Corps, and how we're growing the Signal Corps through Signal Brigades. Hey, Noah, can you please expound upon your question for General Eubank? Okay, he's not going to speak up, but sir, it has to do with S6s and G6s being okay. Noah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Let me just get back to my question, sir. My question is, why are we moving to larger signal brigades that are separate from the maneuver units? Kind of thinking, shouldn't we be integrating smaller teams and units into existing combat arms units, sir? That was kind of my question.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not sure I truly understand it. So here's how I would tell you. I'm not sure we're growing large Signal brigades. So a Signal brigade headquarters is a whopping 135, 150 people. There are only 2 core Signal brigades in the Army, soon to be 3. We will inactivate a Signal battalion to create the nucleus of the 22nd Signal Brigade there at JBLM. So you'll have a core signal brigade aligned to a corps. The only one not getting an active duty core signal brigade is 5th Corps. They will be aligned to a Compo 2 or 3 signal brigade. And then the rest of your signal brigades are what we call theater signal brigades now, formerly known as TSSBs. And so there's your kind of brigade mix. I would tell you, I think we're getting after what you're talking about. It just may not seem like that. What do I mean by that? So we're gonna convert every ESB in the Army to an ESBE. So we're gonna go from 30 points of presence to 48 points of presence per ESBE. What's that allow you to do? It allows you to put more of those folks inside the unit you're talking about, right? That inherently is how we augment Corps, division, VCTs, and battalions, right? So when they're out of their tactical assets, what we do is we RFF and ESBE to provide those assets. And so I think we're getting after what you're talking about as part of what we call GAP 15. You guys might know it as Signal End to End. We're actually going to take some of the personnel savings and actually put some more people down inside Battalion 6 shops to help out. Because we know that's where the rubber meets the road, and so we know we've kind of cut that in the past, and so we're looking to put some folks back there. We're gonna reestablish the C&E maintenance teams inside divisions, and so I think we're getting after what you're talking about. But I'm gonna pause there to see if I hit it or not, Noah.
Yes, sir, you did. Thank you so much.
So our next question is from Major Julio Bonfi. He's the G6 NetOps OIC here at 7th ID. There are a lot of exciting new advancements happening in the Signal Corps right now. From your perspective, what is one of the advances that Signal leaders should be most interested in?
Oh, holy smokes. Well, I could attack that a couple different ways. So I think I think I will attack it 2 different ways, right? So kind of where you guys reside at Corps and below, I think ESBE is a great thing. I think the way we're going to get after supporting the warfighter, smaller teams, smaller form factor kit that actually delivers the same or better capability, I think is huge for the Signal Regiment. So that's one thing I would say. The other thing I would tell you is on the true enterprise side of the house, aside from ICANN mod and voice mod and all this stuff, we're taking a look at this whole enterprise IT as a service, which I think is going to be interesting. And then the move to O365. I mean, with your zero trust and your comply to connect. I think I'd stay tuned to that one. That one's going to be interesting here over the next, I'll say 6 months to 12 months. There's so much going on. It's funny. I didn't know how much was going on the enterprise side of the house until I took command of 7 Signal Command. Holy smokes. There's a lot going on inside the enterprise, and then you slap on top of that everything going on in the tactical world. We're trying to marry those up, right? So you got the integrated tactical network, now you got the integrated enterprise network, and we're trying to marry those up under unified network operations. And for the first time ever, we're actually going to have a set of documents, CDDs, ICDs, RDPs on the enterprise side of the house, right? So they'll marry up with all the documents on the tactical side of the house, and I think we'll be in a better place as a regiment in order to kind of fight for funding and resources inside the buildings, because we'll have documents to go off of. So it's exciting times, like you stated in your question. But I'd be watching the ESBE thing, and then you can pick a modernization effort on the enterprise side. But the ones I'm watching are Comply to Connect, Zero Trust, the O365 piece, and ETAS. It's going to be interesting over the next couple of years. Over.
Roger, sir. Thank you.
And sir, kind of in the same theme here, a question from Major Ryan Gennard from 22 Striker BCT. Commanders at all echelons read and hear about new technologies and capabilities, but not to get too far into the technical discussion here. Do you see AI or machine learning transforming any of the systems we currently know and use today at the BCT level?
Yeah, I think it's coming. I don't know how long it takes to get to the BCT level. You know, I would tell you, just in the enterprise, we're trying to figure out how to use AI and ML just to automate processes that happen every day just on the enterprise, right? Patching, stigging, you know, so that you can, you know, there's not as much man-machine interface there. But I think, you know, as I look at the future of the regiment, everybody on the screen, what I'd be telling you is get smart in software-defined networking, get smart in big data, get smart in AI, get smart in ML, get smart in cloud, right? I just named 5 things that would take you, well, you guys are smart, probably take you a week to learn. For me, it's going to take another 5 years to figure all that out. But they're here, right? The commercial industry is using it, and I think our senior leaders, and it doesn't have to be a signal person, understand it, right? They see it, they grasp it, and they're asking us all the time, hey, how are we using it? Are we going to use it? How are we integrating it into what we do? So it's coming. You guys are tracking. We have a thing called the Enterprise Cloud Management Activity now. It used to be called ECMO. It's now called ECMA. It's an activity that sits up underneath the Department of the Army CIO and is all things cloud, right? And so we're getting after it. It's going to be a high adventure as we move to the cloud with everything else going on, and we're trying to secure it and defend it. And so I hope I at least got a part of that for you.
Yes, sir, you did. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And with that, if you don't mind, just one step further here, do you anticipate a data management problem as we transition toward more of a cloud-based environment?
So I would tell you, I think that's what we need to focus on is data. So you know, as a commandant, you know, I think the one thing I used to chase was, hey, how much data is in a division, right? And so most divisions can kind of were able to kind of give me a stab at what kind of data, how much data they had in the division. The second question is, okay, where's it all at? And so I would tell you divisions have a harder time with that question, right? Because it's not necessarily where everybody thinks it is, right? It's on a book drive inside of a safe. It might be packed away in some sort of kit. But if it's there, how's it accessible, right? And so I think we have got to start looking at the network, not just necessarily from a transport perspective and securing the transport, but from a data perspective and encrypting and securing the data and making it, you know, we like to say WADI, visible, accessible, usable, transportable, and I forget what the I stands for, but data has to be those, or you're not doing anything for your commander, right? If the commander cannot use the data to do mission command, then we failed, right? And so data is huge. We have got to be paying attention to data and understanding where it's at, it's usable. That will be, it's going to be important moving forward. Over.
Great. Thanks so much for that information, sir. All right, we have time for about one more question, sir. I know you're up against a hard time at 1300 your time, so we'll pass it off here to Major Spencer, first name David. Go ahead.
Roger, sir. Good morning. How are you doing? Major Spencer here. I'm the network systems engineer here at 7IDG6. So I understand that the software factory currently is at its infancy, but here in the next few years, it is anticipated that the Signal community or the software factory innovators from Austin are going to get distributed across the Army. How do you see the Signal community taking advantage of these innovators and the units that they're going to fall under?
Yeah, so I'll answer that twofold, to be honest, David. So one, I think you're utilizing it. So if I get one of those as a Division 6, what I'm turning that individual saying is, hey, every wicked problem the commander hands me from an integration perspective, I'm throwing on your desk, right? Because my expectation is when the boss walks in and goes, hey, I've got this picture and this picture, why can't they be one picture? I'm turning to that person and going, hey, is there a way to make it one picture for the boss? So that's a very kind of simple cursory thing. The other thing I would tell you is, while I was still the commandant, and I don't know where it's at today, but while I was still the commandant, ECMO, now ECMO, we were having ongoing discussions about, hey, if we were gonna teach 25 series soldiers inside of either AIT or BOLIC or the Captain's Career Course, any type of programming, what would it be? And why would we do that? And so we started to establish that list and look at, hey, is there a way to plug some of that into, you know, a 25 Bravos course load, into a 25 uniforms course load, into a lieutenant's course load or a captain's course load, just to, and maybe at the soldier level enough to, no kidding, make that happen, and at the lieutenant captain level, be dangerous enough to manage it, right? To kind of manage that build out of stuff. More to follow. I don't know where they're at on that right now, but I think moving forward, I think we're going to have to get our arms around that. It's kind of like cloud, right? So we stood up an Azure presence, we stood up an Amazon Web Services presence here at the schoolhouse, and it's not really about teaching Azure or Amazon. It's about teaching cloud, right? And so the goal was stick it inside the 26 courses, stick it inside the warrant officer courses, but stick what they call the beginner stuff inside BOLIC and Captain's Career Course, so that when a captain leaves, when they get to the force and somebody says cloud to them, they're not lost. They go, okay, I understand this. I know how to manage it. I know how to integrate it. I know what it means to me, so I can explain it to my boss. You know, it goes back to that Raspberry Pi discussion, right? You don't want to go, yeah, sir, it's dessert. That wouldn't be good for us. You want to be able to explain, and I say that, I mean, that's a personal experience of mine. I had a boss come to me and go, hey, I was out visiting a unit. They told me about Raspberry Pi. I kind of went along with it, but what the heck is that? And so I knew a little bit. No kidding. I went to Barnes and Noble that day and bought a book and got really smart, and then went back to the boss the next day and said, hey, this is what this is about. This is what they were telling you. This is what it does. This is what you can do with it. And so that's our profession, right? It's never a dull day. You will learn forever. And so I hope that touched on it, but I think it's a twofold thing. I think sixes are going to have to grab those folks up and utilize them to solve wicked, what I would call integration. So mission command integration problems, if that makes sense, Dave.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Hey, sir. Yeah, once again, we're about 7 minutes till your backstop here. On behalf of the 7th ID G6, 7th ID, the soon-to-be students here at the 7th ID S6 certification course that will be certified come this afternoon, thank you so much for being a part of our Signal professional development program. I know that each and every one of us got a lot out of this. And sir, with that, I'll hand it over to you for some of your closing remarks or comments for the group. Thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I love this stuff. I do this every day if my calendar would allow me to. So look, leader, teammate, communicator, solve problems, be passionate, right? That I would tell you, I think that's what makes us who we are, right? There's no quit in a Signal soldier, right? It is not in our DNA to fail at anything. We don't. It's just, you know, we're here to solve problems, and the expectation is that it works every day, right? So every customer comes to work, picks up their phone and expects dial tone. They expect email to flow. They expect the VTC to work, and so that. If you just understand that right up front, you understand what you're up against as a Signal officer, NCO, warrant officer, soldier, right? So and that's why I say it can be hard, right? There's going to be days that all you want to do is crawl back under the covers and go to bed because you know nothing's working at work, but you're not allowed to do that. You got to come to work. You got to solve problems. You got to get the comms working. And so for that, I tell you, thank you. You guys are at the tip of the spear, getting it done every day, and I appreciate that. But stay passionate, right? If you can't tell, I'm passionate about what I do. I'm excited for you guys. And if 7th Signal Command can do anything for you or me, let me know. I just reach out to me. I'll return your emails. But stay passionate about what you do. And once again, thanks for having me today. Good luck in everything you do. Stay safe. Keep yourself, your family, your teammates safe. The pandemic is not gone. So stay safe. And please let me know if you need anything. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Kyle.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Okay.